Hey everybody, Abraham here. So, this is the end of the Joker movie. This is one of my favorite movies ever. And I really love it. The same condition he has, I have, but not to the extreme that he has, the character Arthur Fleck. I think it's so beautiful that all the imagery of the symbolisms within it. And if you know anything about the history, because this is the origin story of Joker, but if you know anything about the past films about Batman and Joker and their big, crazy, story, this movie, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. But there's something really beautiful I wanted to say, and this is a spoiler alert, so just in case you haven't seen this movie, turn this off. You don't you don't want to watch my video, okay? Because this is gonna ruin the movie for you. But the big hinge of the movie is that his psychotic mother tells him that he is the son of Mr. Wayne, which is Batman's dad, okay? So, Bruce Wayne's dad. So, I forget the dude's name. Not important. But he's the son, okay? Joker is the son of Mr. Wayne, and he's Batman's brother. That's the big, oh my God, bro, oh my God. When I first saw this movie, I was like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, bro. This is so great, right? And then it turns out his mother was psychotic, right? And, oh my God. And he is an abandoned orphan. That's what it really is. And she wasn't really his mom, and she was psychotic, and she allowed him to be abused and have head trauma, which caused his laugh, okay? His uncontrollable laugh. Right here at the end of the movie is the most beautiful part. I'm going to play it for you, and I don't own any of the rights to this, so please don't mute my video or block it or whatever, YouTube, Facebook, who cares. But listen. I want to show you something that I use all the time within my storytelling, all right, and my books, and which I hope become movies. That I want to show you a really beautiful thing that they weave throughout here that many people might not get if you're not really into the movie or you don't really know all the other movies, like the Batman movies, okay? To know about the Joker part, you know what I mean? So I really want to show you something right here. And if you haven't been following along with this movie the entire time and didn't really see the story structure and the buildup of the character arc, you won't see this. And this is a huge revelation at the end of the movie. Okay, what Arthur did, okay, based on where he came from, his name's Arthur Fleck, Joker's name is Arthur Fleck. What Arthur did, all right, well, listen, what Arthur was put through as an abandoned orphan, right? Yeah, we don't know if he was an orphan, he was just an abandoned child, right? And the woman came along, Penny Fleck, and took him, as she was an abandoned child, and raised him like she was really his mom. But he finds out that it's not really his mom, and that she was psychotic, and when he was a little boy, he got severely beaten, and he had brain trauma, which causes uncontrollable laugh. But that's the thing. What Joker endured his entire life brought him to the events of the crimes he committed, which I mean, if you look at what happened with the dudes on the subway, it's kind of justifiable. They were beating the hell out of him, so he shot him dead. I mean, he shouldn't have ran down the last guy and shot him, because all the violence, I mean, it could be justified if all the violence happened in like 1 minute, if he was just trying to stop his attackers, okay? You don't run down the last dude and shoot him dead, all right, after he was already trying to escape and call for help. But what I'm saying is, after all that trauma set the course of events that led to Mr. Wayne and his wife being killed, which made, if you think about it, it made Batman the exact same origin of Joker. That's what's right here. I don't care if the filmmakers come out and say, oh, that's not how we wrote it. That's exactly how you're presenting it right here with this scene. I'm going to play the scene and just understand. Joker, this is masterful storytelling right here. Joker is laughing, and he's in a psychiatrist, and he's in a mental hospital, okay? He's been captured. It's the end of the movie. And she says, what are you laughing about? And he says, I'm thinking of a joke, but you wouldn't understand it. And people were just thinking that that's him being crazy, right? The first time you see that, first couple times, you're like, oh, it's just Joker being crazy, you know, and it shows Wayne. But really what it is they built up his character to where Arthur goes through trauma, which causes the events of him to act out. And then he was an orphan, well, not really an orphan, but he was an abandoned child. Maybe an orphan, but an abandoned child, right? And that's the same origin of Batman. And you see it right here, and I think that's so beautiful. I mean, it's a terrible deal within the, you know, if you look at the actual story, but it's a beautiful story. It's beautiful storytelling.
What's so funny?
Just thinking of a joke.
That's Batman and his dead parents.
Do you want to tell it to me?
And that's the last line of the movie. That's the end.
That's life. That's life. And as funny as it may seem.
He sings the song, but the last real line is him saying that. You wouldn't get it. And unless you are like a real fan of either storytelling or Batman and Joker, you wouldn't get that last scene of why he thought it was funny. Because he realizes, because at this point, it's in the future, right? He's already been captured. He's already inside the hospital and all that stuff. And he's meeting with a psychiatrist at a weekly visit or something. And it's like at least a week or a couple days after the killing of Mr. Wayne. So he has already heard that Wayne is dead, right? So Thomas Wayne, that's his name. Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's dad, who is Batman. But Batman's dad has been killed. And Bruce Wayne is now an orphan. And he's laughing because he realizes that what he caused, even though he doesn't know at this point that it's Batman, he just knows that the kid that he met at Wayne Manor, Thomas Wayne's son, the little kid that he met and gave him the magical flowers and everything too, and tried to be nice with him, that kid is in the same position that he was, and he had a character arc which involved Thomas Wayne being his possible dad, and then him realizing that he was abandoned, and it hinges on Thomas Wayne. It's beautiful because I know I'm talking a lot, and this is a long explanation, but if you really dive into this kind of stuff, and you really see the storytelling in its deepest levels, you can perform this kind of master art if you can understand these things and build them up within your own writing. And me learning this stuff over decades, right, over like 20 years of seeing this within filmmaking and exploiting this within my own work is what makes it's a small piece, because there's many different pieces. I don't want to give away all my secrets of how the style of my writing. But the things that I do in my storytelling, even though it's not public yet, and I've had many private people who have seen it and think it's the best thing I've ever read and it would be the bombest movie ever, is because I studied this kind of stuff. And this is like one of like 30 things that I implement within my writing skills. But it's one of the tools. But I just want to say, for anybody who's interested in learning how storytelling works and how you can use it for dramatic effect within symbolism and within character arcs, this is really beautiful. Because you're taking, I don't want to give it away. I'm not going to give away the big discovery once you learn everything of how this works. The eureka moment will come to you. If you want to learn it, you have to pursue it. And actually, I'm not going to give you the eureka moment, okay, of what this style and tool can bring about and how it actually can bring about amazing things within storytelling. I'm not going to give that away. If you really want to pursue it, you can go carve that nugget or go it out for yourself, okay? But I just want to say how beautiful this is. And this is what we really need. And people who are doing Christian evangelistic work, novels or songs or movies or plays or poems, this is the kind of stuff you really have to train and see how the masters do it. The masters of popular culture. I'm not saying they're actual masters, like Christian masters. I'm a master writer. These people are master filmographers, right? Directors and stuff. But we need other Christian people. This is not a Christian movie. But I'm saying, for the purposes of evangelism and bringing popular culture back towards morality and rebuilding the atmosphere of Christianity, okay, for evangelism and just for a better, decent society, you're going to have to learn master level stuff like this that you don't even have to go to college for. Like, this is free. This is well, you have to pay to see the movie. but this is free. This is like literally you coming into my workshop within my office and you sneak peeking all my techniques. Because once you put a piece out, say like this movie, Joker movie, once you put a piece out, right, it's entertaining to most people, but to some people, like me, and like anybody that would train to be a master writer or storyteller, you get to see the architect's blueprint within the storytelling based on you sampling their work. And you can find their technique of storytelling. You can find out all, like not all, because a lot of writers and a lot of filmographers don't give all their secrets, and you can't really pry every nugget of gold out of their technique just by watching their work. But if you study it close enough, you can get about 90% of their technique by seeing exactly how they bring across this finished piece, okay? And then you can actually backtrack it and really study it and see how the master's done it. Because here's a warning, don't do it on regular movies, right? Yeah, I mean, how do I say this? You have to have an eye for this. Like you have to have a writer's mindset, all right, a storyteller's mindset to be able to see this within anything. It could be a garbage movie and you can still see one revolutionary kind of technique that they're using. And it could be a master movie like this, a master storytelling movie like this, and you could see a very prominent technique in here, like they did at the end of this movie, and they did in some other parts of the same movie, and it's really beautiful once you see it. But you have to have an eye for it. You have to have how do I say it? I don't want to say creator because God's the only creator, but you have to have an artist's eye for that. You know what I mean? You can't just randomly see this. Like, I just want to say something, and maybe if he ever sees this, his name was Sean, and he was with me in a boys' home. He was one of the counselors at a boys' home, and we went on an outing to see a movie, and we saw, it's weird though, I'm making this and talking about the story. We saw Joaquin Phoenix when the movie first came out. It was called Gladiator, and he was the bad guy in the movie. Okay, and I saw something at the end of the movie that had to do with Maximus Aurelius or something, the good guy, the gladiator, right? The hero. And I saw something between Gladiator and his character. And I said it to the guy. I was like, that's beautiful. And I saw this as a small teenager. I had this. I was already training to be a master writer at that time, but I was at the beginning stages of it. But the beginning years of it, because I trained for 16 years. But I was at the beginning years of it. But even then, when I didn't have much of a grasp on story structure and I was building it up over years, even then, I saw things that adults with higher IQs than me could not see. And you have to have a natural eye for these kinds of things. This is what it was. I remember exactly what it was. His character in Gladiator does unjust things to be able to cause Gladiator to be killed in the arena at the end of the movie. And he loses his sword or something, and he says, throw me a sword, throw me a sword. And his captain doesn't give him a sword. And Gladiator looks at his captain, and they do like a head nod, right? Like, yes, I totally agree with this. It's because the captain seen the unjustness of what his character was doing against the Gladiator. And it was good. It was justice. And it was good that his character should be killed by Gladiator. And I saw that. But nobody else saw it. All the adults that went to the film with me to see it at the movie theater, Gladiator, they didn't see any of that. And I was like, wow, isn't that beautiful? I said that on the ride back from the movie theater back to the boys' home. I said, isn't that wonderful and beautiful how they did that within the storyline, that Caesar got justice from the Gladiator. He got punished for what he did. And his captain, Caesar's captain, thought it was good and just that he received that punishment. That justice came to him. And they're like, wow, dude, how did you see that? We didn't even notice that, right? And I was like, I was just a teenager, and I was like, I don't know. I just, figured it out. And it's just because I was in the moment with it, and I have the eye for that kind of stuff. And that's what you got to have. So if you don't have a natural eye like that, really try to look for it, because you can see it if you try hard enough. I bet if you don't have the natural eye to see those kind of things, you can build that up over time, I'm betting. But it's really simple if you just have a natural eye for it. So that's what I want to say. And I know this is really random video, and I know I talked a lot about it, but for anybody who wanted to be a master writer, master storyteller, these are the kind of tools you would implement and discover off of previous masters, like whoever made this movie and whoever's seen this. It's going to take you a long time to perfect these different tools, to be able to proficiently and masterfully and artfully use them within your overall technique of writing, or whatever you're doing, storytelling within a film. It's going to take you a long time to make these things masterful and flowing. You don't want to just perfect them, but you want to perfect them to the part to where they become a part of your natural way of presentation, so that it looks like flowing water instead of you just stamping on chunky parts of a technique that looks clunky. You want to be so proficient in it and so artful and mastering it that it looks like flowing water, and it's very beautifully woven, as it is with this scene. So that it doesn't look tacked on, or it doesn't look like out of place, or overbearing with blatantness. That's why a lot of people miss this, because it is so flowing and beautifully goes through it so good. A lot of people miss that. So, and that's what masters like me. And I'm not I don't say that boastfully. I'm just saying that that's the level I am. Like a doctor has a degree or something. Like, that's what I am. I'm at the apex of, I'm an apex within my field. That'll be brought out in the future. Everybody won't know that later. But I'm saying that now. And because it's good that you understand these things. So, yeah, it's easy for me to say it. and it's easy for me to do within my own work. I weave symbolism and morality and ideologies throughout, good moral ideologies towards the purpose of evangelism. Weave it throughout my storytelling so you can, and my storytelling is always reality based. So it's like, I'm not going to go on much longer. I'm not going to go into it for a 10-hour rant, but I'm just going to say mine's like realistic. Like if you were going through it, what would you actually experience on a human level? You, like not him, you, what would you actually go through if you went through, say, war or the death of a loved one, or like, you know, just terrible events, seeing a national tragedy or something? And how are you going to cope with it to be a person of good character, to help bring people together, unify, and help be a good leader and servant under all? That's what leaders are. So what would you actually go through emotionally, physically? You know, it's physically demanding. You have to make sure that everyone's okay. It's psychologically demanding. It's emotionally demanding. It's spiritually demanding. And you have to weigh all these things out. And that's how I calculate it within the behavior patterns of my characters. And I'm not giving you all my techniques. Screw that, dude. You guys figure it out. You'll learn it on your own. But I'm saying it's beautiful when you make things realistic. And if you have good morality woven throughout it, as it's realistic to our common society as it is today, this is really realistic. It's about 90% realistic. So if you do that and you weave morality throughout, you can actually cause the viewer, the viewer who's seeing the piece, to question your own character set traits and be able to say, well, that was super realistic, and that is most likely what I would have done in that situation. Not pertaining to the Joker, but something, a storyline, right? A realistic storyline. And you make the viewer or the reader question their own things that they might want to be as the character. And that emotional tie-in, but with like emotional tie-in, like if you've seen Iron Man die. Oh, that's so terrible. But who has $1 billion freaking Iron Man suit? Nobody. Okay? And the realisticness of Avengers is just, it's not cohesive with actual real society and with everyday common people's lives. So, but if you tie that emotionalism within something realistic that could actually happen, right? And then you weave it by morality and not by terrible things like this. This message is crazy right here. And within this movie, it's about anarchy. it's about many things, but primarily it's about him being shunned that leads to him finding the attention and love that he gets from causing anarchy. So, but what I'm saying is, holy mackerel, I forgot what I said. Oh yeah, but if you can weave it emotionally within a realistic, really realistic thing, you can get common viewers, by morality being weaved through it, to question their own traits, their own morals, their own moral compass, their own conscience. And it could resensitize people's conscience, that they would be more aware of how bad things are, how bad things exist, so that they would want to steer away from it and try to be a better person. You could change many things about a person by doing that. And if you do enough of that, if there are enough artists who do that, and they do that for morality to be rebuilt, what you can do is you can change the course of popular culture. You can change it on its course and reverse it back towards morality. Because if you make it realistic, if you make it enjoyable and emotionally attaching, that would make the character or the person viewing it to question everything, but it's done masterfully where it's very entertaining and very emotionally attachable, then if you do that and you blow all of the other competition out of the water that's doing it secular and immoral ways, and you blow them out of the water, people will want to see more of what you just did based on a moral standpoint. And if you can get many artists to do it in that same way, people who really know how to make movies well, if you can get them to do it in that same way, then the audience for these kinds of immoral movies will dry up, because you are revolutionary with your storytelling. It's way more entertaining, and you will be able to dry up the percentage of people who want to see immoral movies, and you'll build up the percentage of people who want to see actual moral movies, right? And then the entertainment industry will have to change the way it does things to make things moral, because that's what the audience wants. If you go and make a show, right? If they make like 50 movies and they spend $10 billion on making movies, right? And they make 50 movies, and nobody goes to see those movies, and then they do sampling, like they bring in a crowd and they say, why didn't you watch the movie? And a focus group tells them why we didn't watch it, right? Because we like this over here because it's more moral and stuff like that, and it was more masterful, and that director did a way better job at the storytelling, and it was really great, man. And that was garbage. The same old stuff you've always been doing with immoral, movies and storytelling. Oh man, we've already seen that to death. You know what I mean? We watched that to death. Who wants that anymore? This thing over here is way more revolutionary and entertaining. It's just exciting, dude. It's new. So the entire industry will be like, okay, that's where the money is, because that's where they're all focused on, right? And they would have a big outcry, like, oh my God, all the celebrities would be like, oh my God, they're not going for SJW garbage, so, it's so terrible, right? Oh, you guys are so, you're racist and misogynist and all this stuff. But eventually, the people at the top would be like, dude, we're not losing billions of dollars. The audience doesn't want that anymore. I'm sorry, we're not doing it, right? And eventually, within like about 5 years, of the if master writers who do it morally, if there are enough doing it, and they were doing it at master level, what's really entertaining and pulling the crowd a certain way, the percentage of income, of box office will move towards that. And the minority will stay with the garbage that we have today. This is a master movie. It's immoral, but it's masterfully told. And I like it because it's a part of the comic book stuff. But the original comic book stuff, like this character is actually based on the original Joker comic book stuff, not the actual movie franchise. But what I'm saying is, this would be this movie, as masterful as it is, would be the minority, and moral movies like my books getting turned into movies would be the majority, based on if you had enough artists, not artists who play in the movies, but artists who make the movies, the directors, the cinematographers and stuff. If you could get, and the producers, if you could get them to be master writers, right, and master storytellers, but from a Christian standpoint, if you got enough of them to do it and make movies as good as this, I'm telling you, you could change the course of popular culture. And this immoral stuff would be a very small minority. Like the way in the 70s pornography was in like secret like movie theaters, and you had to have like you had to walk around with a black bag, and you couldn't see inside the bag to see what was inside the bag, which is like a porno tape or a porno magazine. That's what these kind of movies would be, down in that minority. It would be like that far down, because within one generation of doing that, if enough artists do that and they do it well enough, it will change what's popular and it will change the way people see things. And if you do it weaving Christian principles and morality throughout, you can change the actual mindset of the society. That within one generation, it will re-swing everybody's conscience and moral code back towards the proper way. And then it will go back to like the 1950s. By the next generation, within one generation, you can affect it to where it goes back to like the 1950s, where everyone was moral, men were men, women were beautiful, lovely, honorable housewives. Like that's what we could turn into. That's why you see from the year 2000 to the year 2020, 20 years, 2000 to 2020, you can see how it went from Britney Spears looking kind of sexy within the videos to full-on Cardi B talking about how she's a stripper hoe and everyone loving it. And she's naked and Rihanna's naked and all this stuff. And they're talking about, and Ariana Grande says, and God is a woman and blaspheming God. And everyone loves it. That's how you change it slowly over time like that. And within one generation, you could pull all that back. You could pull it back towards morality. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I'm trying to get other people to team up to do with me. So, because though we might get rich by this and be famous, that it's not the real goal. The real treasure is knowing that when you die, you have left this place in a better state than when you were born into it, for other people's sake, for other people's children's sake, for your own children's sake. And to give all glory to God as a good steward, as a good servant. And that's what I want to talk about primarily in this video. All right, guys. Jesus infinitely loves all of you, and I super love you as well. Have an amazing day. And as always, bless the King, King Jesus.